impacts from federal cuts to AmeriCorps funding trickling down to Macon schools. CBS News reports the Department of Government Efficiency cut $400 million from its budget.
Sunday night, AmeriCorps members in Macon were told their time in schools must come to an end.
CBS News has exclusively obtained a list of more than 1,000 AmeriCorps grant programs terminated in recent weeks by the Trump administration.
These workers show up and help with food banks, schools, and more.
But now that help might not be guaranteed after state partners received a letter that all of Maine's federal grant programs for AmeriCorps have been cut under the Trump administration.
They got a letter in late April explaining that all federal grant programs for AmeriCorps have been cut under the Trump administration.
We were told that the award no longer effectuates agency priorities.
Since February, Tia Lockhart has been working at Burdell Hunt Elementary through AmeriCorps.
I've been assisting with small groups of first graders and second graders doing ELA and math.
Cuts have hit Las Vegas programs. The city says it's received a heads up that all AmeriCorps services must end, saying they don't align with agency priorities.
Hello and welcome back to the Unemployed Movie Critic YouTube channel. Today, I'm actually not going to talk about movies at all whatsoever, but I am going to talk about my day job that actually pays the bills, which is my service through AmeriCorps. So this video obviously is very different from the kind of videos that I usually make. If you're coming back, thank you to my 10 loyal followers who decided to also click on this video to give me some extra views. I've talked about it in a few videos, just like kind of briefly, and most of you don't know me probably anyways. So my name is Maya and I work at a high school as a college advisor. So my program is through AmeriCorps, which, as I'm sure you've probably heard, has been experiencing a lot of cuts recently due to the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. So today, I wanted to spend some time talking all about AmeriCorps, my service through AmeriCorps, and just why, in general, AmeriCorps is a very important organization and why everybody should care about it. So I just wanted to start this video by saying I believe that this should not be a political issue. I'm a liberal person. I think everybody who's ever laid eyes on me, who's ever spoken to me, knows that I'm a liberal person just by the way that I present myself, the way that I talk, the people that I hang out with, the shows that I watch, the music that I listen to. I think everybody can probably pick that up. So yes, I am a liberal person. No, obviously I did not vote for Donald Trump. And no, obviously I really don't like him or Elon Musk. But I don't care. Put that aside. Nothing about what I'm saying today should be political at all. Everybody benefits from social services, public goods, free things that you all get to enjoy that are paid for on the government's behalf. We all enjoy those things, and if you don't, then you must be really rich, and you should enjoy it for everybody else's sake because it's really important. So obviously I'm liberal, but if you're not liberal, don't let that taint your idea about what I'm saying. Even if you voted for Donald Trump and even if you voted against what I believe in, what I have to say today should go way beyond politics, way beyond my personal beliefs, and is kind of just an important public good for all Americans, unless for some reason you're one of those crazy people who just thinks we shouldn't have a government at all in any public goods, in which case you're not going to agree with me at all, but you're also probably crazy, so I don't really care what you have to say because you're weird. The Department of Government Efficiency has been cutting a lot of federal programs. So the goal of DOGE is to save Americans millions of dollars annually by cutting programs that are paid for by taxes, obviously, that the federal government uses to fund various social programs, services, whatever you want to call them. So AmeriCorps was one of those programs that received really, really harsh cuts. In Michigan alone, there are no more AmeriCorps programs left in Michigan. So the entire state of Michigan has not one single AmeriCorps program left because all of the programs that in Michigan utilized are gone. I know the same is true for other states, but some states were spared. They still have a couple AmeriCorps programs splattered here and about. I'm sure probably Peace Corps is one of those programs that is sticking around in a lot of places. But as far as my job, it's gone. Let's start with a very brief overview of what AmeriCorps is. So what is AmeriCorps? AmeriCorps started with the Peace Corps, which was founded by JFK. So the Peace Corps, as I'm sure you kind of have like a base level understanding of, is an organization that recruits Americans, youth, to go to countries who are in need and help them with various certain projects. So Peace Corps, they don't have a very big budget, so they have to be very selective about what countries they go to and what services they provide. So they really try to work hard to figure out who really needs our help the most and what can we do to help them out. And JFK actually came up with the idea in 1960, and fun little fact, because I know about this because I'm an AmeriCorps member, or I was before I was fired. He actually announced his plans for the Peace Corps first on the steps of the University of Michigan's library, I believe, or some building at U of M. And everyone said, yay, and then they voted for him. And then Peace Corps became a thing in 1961. Then in 1990, another really big AmeriCorps program that you've probably heard of before, called Teach for America, was founded. It wasn't part of AmeriCorps yet, it was its own thing, but AmeriCorps soon began to kind of encompass a lot of other services that already existed into just one cohesive group that follows the same kind of guidelines. In 1993, AmeriCorps, as we sort of know it today, was officially kind of set into place. So that's when a bunch of other services kind of came together in a big conglomerate to become AmeriCorps. In 1996, America Reads Initiative began, which taught third graders how to read at grade level, make sure they were making the reading requirements. In 2001, AmeriCorps volunteers helped New York City in the aftermath of 9/11. In 2005, AmeriCorps volunteers helped victims of Hurricane Katrina. So I hope by me saying that you kind of have an understanding of the kinds of services AmeriCorps provides. AmeriCorps is, like I said, a very wide-ranging organization. So the foster grandparent program or senior corps, those are different aspects of AmeriCorps that not only engage seniors in the community, but there's also programs that help seniors in our community. For children and education, we have Teach for America. We have different, I know in Michigan, we have math and reading services to help students at elementary level make sure they're at their math and reading requirements, especially after COVID. If you know an educator, students are really, really, really far behind in reading. It's scary. I'm really genuinely worried. So that's another AmeriCorps program that's just in Michigan that I know about. AmeriCorps helps in disaster relief. AmeriCorps helps in health initiatives. During COVID, AmeriCorps did a lot of different initiatives, mind you, for free, just for the public good. And then my AmeriCorps job, which is just really a small little program compared to everything AmeriCorps does. I work for Advise Michigan, which is part of the Michigan College Access Network, and which receives funding primarily from AmeriCorps funding. So I was an AmeriCorps member before I was fired by Elon Musk. Now I am no longer an AmeriCorps member. And if I was an AmeriCorps member, I wouldn't be allowed to talk about like any of this stuff or have an opinion, or as an AmeriCorps member, I wasn't even allowed to help people register to vote, even if I wasn't telling them how to vote. But because I'm no longer an AmeriCorps member, now I can talk to you about it. And I'm going to be loose with some details because I'm not sure what I can say, but I'm also going to try to be as transparent as possible so you kind of get the whole picture of my job and just one example of what my AmeriCorps job does. As a college advisor, my role, my job description is that I help low-income students, students of color, first-generation college students, students who are otherwise not expected to be able to go to college, to have the resources and the knowledge and the help at home to be able to go to college. I'm supposed to work with those students specifically to help them go to college. I can't make them go to college, obviously. By golly, they let me know that as much as they possibly can. And not everybody goes to college. Some people join the military. Some people have trade certificates already. But those who do want to go to college, I make it my goal to help them go to college. And if I can, I help them go to college with the least amount of money out of their pocket possible. So I help them apply for scholarships. I help them apply to schools in general. I help them do the FAFSA, the free application for federal aid. So they fill out the FAFSA. I help them and their parents understand the FAFSA. Where I live, a lot of parents don't really understand what the FAFSA is, or they're very suspicious of it because it's a federal document. You have to put your social security number and your name, your birthday, and all this personal information. People are very suspicious of it. They think it's a scam all the time. So I walk them through that. I help students understand what are loans, why you probably shouldn't take out loans, especially not private loans, because they're super, super dangerous. Who do I talk to at the college to figure out this issue? How much is it actually going to cost for me to go to college? Can I afford to do this? In Michigan, students right now are very lucky because so long as they do the FAFSA, they actually get to attend their local community college tuition free. That is a brand new thing that just happened this school year. So most of my job this year was convincing parents to, yes, you have to do the FAFSA so your kid can go to school for free. There is no other way for them to go to school for free. That is my job. And on a more personal, I guess, level, I meet with students all the time and I just help them emotionally get through the college process. People are scared. Their parents are not on board. Their parents do not support them. Not everybody lives with their parents. People have crazy personal issues for why their parents can't help them do the FAFSA. It's a hard job. It's a really hard job, and I do not make a lot of money doing it. To be transparent, I know it's weird to talk about money, but I make $30,000 a year before taxes. So after taxes, they take away money from me. And so, I, like most other people, don't enjoy paying taxes, especially now that I'm a big girl and I have a big girl job and I have to pay rent and buy groceries. But that's just the fact of life. So I make $30,000 before taxes. It's not technically my job. It's technically, it's my service opportunity, and this is my living stipend, not my wage, according to AmeriCorps' language. Sometimes it feels like a thankless job, even though I know my job has an impact. Sometimes, frankly, I really do not like my job. Sometimes I really do, because sometimes I meet students who I know really need my help, who I feel like I'm making a difference with them. I sometimes call somebody's parent and the parent has no idea about anything that's going on because their student hasn't told them anything. And I know that me talking to that parent and explaining financial aid is going to make a difference in that child's life. Sending kids to my community college to go to school tuition free, to get a certificate or to get an associate degree or to launch themselves into a bachelor's degree for free for $0 for tuition is an incredible feeling. But sometimes I really do not like my job. Sometimes the AmeriCorps rules for my job are annoying. I have to meet 1,700 service hours. I have to do a certain amount of hours doing this and this and this. There's certain things that I can't do or can't talk about in my job. I have to keep extensive data about every single thing that I do all the time, always, to be able to prove that my job actually does something. And it does. So, which is a good feeling. If you've ever worked with teenagers, you will never meet a group of people who listen and pay attention less in their lives. You'll never meet a group of people who have no idea what's going on at any given moment of any given day. But despite that, my job is really important. And also, to be transparent, my job is a 2-year stint. So according to AmeriCorps rules, I'm only allowed to have my job for 2 years for the contract, and then I have to leave. So after this year, I was going to leave anyway, regardless of my position being cut by DOGE. I was going to leave anyways. So when I woke up a couple weeks ago, I saw a message from a group chat and they said, guys, we're pretty sure we're going to get cut. And then I checked my email from my higher ups at Michigan College Access Network, and they said, emergency meeting today. Things are going on. You're probably going to lose your job. And yes, we did in fact lose our jobs as of, I think it was April 25th. Officially, I didn't have a job through AmeriCorps. I am no longer an AmeriCorps member. So on May 30th, officially, that will be the end of my job completely, the end of college advisors in Michigan, through MCAN at least. Schools across the state, all over Michigan, who had a college advisor in their school every day to meet with students, to meet with parents, to give presentations about financial aid, are completely gone. Unless the school decides to hire a new one, which they do not have money for, by the way. So they lost this expertise in financial aid, in college literacy, in understanding job opportunities even, because even though my job is to talk about college, I try hard to make sure students understand different job opportunities that are in our area, where to go to learn certain trades, how to get certain apprenticeships, where to look for jobs, who to contact. I work really hard to make sure students just have something planned post-secondary, some kind of post-secondary education training so that they can find a job, so they're not working at the McDonald's. No offense to people that do work at the McDonald's, but you get what I'm saying. For other people, they lost, like I said, their insurance and their money. Now they cannot pay rent. They don't know what's going to happen after the end of May. Programs like mine that relied on AmeriCorps funding, they are completely gone. So Advise Michigan, which was under the Michigan College Access Network, that is like not going to be a program anymore. So they got funding from other places as well as the federal government, but pretty much they do not have enough money to continue to have this program next year. And that's just our job. Mind you, there are thousands of AmeriCorps programs and thousands of AmeriCorps jobs. And all of those people lost their jobs, their jobs. So I'm technically, under a service term, and I'm talking about like their actual jobs, not even just the service term, things that they rely on to support their families and to support themselves. They are now out of a job. So that's messed up, right? Not to toot my own horn, but I know that without me, many low-income students would not have the resources to be able to attend college. First of all, many of the students that I meet with, when I tell them they can go to college, that has never occurred to them before, because they always thought, I'm too poor to go to college, or my grades are not good enough to get a scholarship to go to college. Not everybody can go into the trades or go into the military or work a customer service job. We need people to go to college to become doctors and lawyers and nurses and veterinarians and accountants and historians and teachers and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We need people to have those jobs, and they should not just be people that can afford to go to college, because Einstein probably didn't grow up rich, and the smartest person in my town is not rich. We are poor. In Port Huron, Michigan, I can't remember what percentage of the population lives at the poverty level. And my job specifically puts me into schools that have really low income student populations. So I work with a lot of poor kids, and those kids deserve to go to college because they're just as smart. Why are we allowing, through the cut of my job, reminder, by DOGE, why are we allowing them to tell our students that they can't go to college? And they won't, because they're poor. These students can contribute to society. They can go to college and they can get jobs that stimulate the economy and also stimulate their own personal economic growth. If we care so much about people not being lazy and pulling themselves up by the bootstraps and taking opportunities and not being lazy, if you claim to care about those things, then you should care that DOGE cut my job. More educated people stimulate the economy. So the more education a person has, the more likely they are to pay more in taxes, the more likely they are to have more spending money to go ahead and buy things that stimulate the economy. They're also more likely to vote. So the more education you have, it's more likely that people with more than just a high school education are going to vote. And everyone should care about that because voting is super important. I'm not going to get into that right now. If you don't think voting is important, I don't really care. Shut up. That's not what I'm talking about right now. Voting in general is a good idea because in theory, you're supposed to be able to vote for people that you think are going to do good things for the country. You should be an informed voter, but that's besides the point. Moving on. And I was talking to my partner and to my family about this, and it's very true that Donald Trump, DOGE, Elon Musk, they don't even know that they cut my job. They are just cutting programs willy-nilly. They have no idea what I do. They have no idea what my job is. They have no idea about the students that I work with. They don't know who I am and why I matter and why my job matters. They have no idea what my job does. And I'm here to tell you today that you should care that they don't know. You should care that they're just cutting things without paying attention to what they are. And if they did know that they cut my job, you should be wondering, why would they cut such an important service? Even if you personally don't want to go to college, I don't care. Don't go to college then. But other people do, and other people are deserving. You deserve the opportunity to be able to go to college. Everybody should have the same opportunities to be able to understand college and financial aid and scholarships. So, according to CBS, approximately half of the programs that have been cut through AmeriCorps serve states that Donald Trump won in the 2024 election. Those states who voted for Donald Trump, who expect him to support him, a random guy who's not even Donald Trump, mind you, it's Elon Musk, has decided to cut off their aid and their help, things that those communities will benefit from, no matter your political standing. Some of the AmeriCorps programs that were cut include Child Abuse Prevention Organization in Missouri, Tutors for Children in Rural Alaska, and a group that provides life-saving flood relief in West Virginia. AmeriCorps is supposed to service needy areas. A lot of areas in the U.S. that are needy are rural because they have less access to funding that more populated areas get because they serve more people, obviously. So people who live in rural areas, if you are troubled, you should be upset because your free AmeriCorps help from volunteers like me is gone. In Detroit, grant money for an AmeriCorps urban safety project has also been canceled. So those projects were coordinated with the assistance of Wayne State University, shout out to the Wayne State Warriors, and included boarding up vacant homes and clearing out vacant lots to improve public safety. So if you care about public safety, you should care that AmeriCorps programs have been cut. According to Kansas NPR, at Indian Creek Nature Preserve in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which had AmeriCorps members doing short-term annual service at the nature preserve, has also lost funding. So all of those members have been cut, so they no longer have that assistance from AmeriCorps members. And those members did things like restoration jobs, managing burns, so burns in wildlife prairies that threaten the safety of people and animals in nature, identifying and removing invasive species. So if you care about maintenance of our beautiful public parks, you should care that AmeriCorps programs have been cut. And I know the point of DOGE is to save Americans money, but I want to make it very, very, very clear that AmeriCorps as a program and a lot of these other programs that DOGE has been cutting really do not cost a lot of money and is really not going to affect you all that much. AmeriCorps has about a $1 billion budget federally, which sounds like a lot of money to you and I. But for comparison, not to say that we don't need the military, shout out to the vets, then the U.S. military spent in 2023 $820.3 billion, which is about 13% of the federal budget. So if you thought to yourself, $820.3 billion sounds like a lot of money, mind you, it is a lot of money, but that's just 13% of the federal budget. So how much is $1 billion of the federal budget?
Not to mention, this is also probably illegal because I know, at least for my job, our funding was already secured. So it's not like it was going to cost any extra money. We already had the grant funding. And also, it's probably not even going to save Americans that much money because it's going to cost a lot in the long run, if that matters to you also.
And for comparison, Elon Musk is estimated to be worth around $332 billion. So from his own private money, from his own pocket, he could support AmeriCorps, which is $1 billion of his $332 billion. So again, I ask, what does a man who been rich his entire life, he has never had to look for a job. His parents are blood diamond people, immoral, first of all. A man who is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, who has never had to work a middle-class job, who has no idea what it's like to be worried about going to college. What does this man know about cutting federal programs? What does he know about my job, which helps low-income students? What does he know about AmeriCorps, which is a nonprofit organization that helps Americans throughout the country for free? What does he know about Teach for America or the Peace Corps? What does he know about us? He doesn't know anything about us. He doesn't care. He doesn't know what he did to me or to my coworkers who lost their jobs and their health insurance. He doesn't know what that's like. So why would we allow this man to have such an important job?
Not going to get to 2 trillion over the lifetime of DOGE.
I'm sorry?
The 4 billion a day, if DOGE is going to run till next July, is not going to get you to $2 trillion. But you still say it's your aim.
So I want to end this video by just saying, if you're upset, you should be. You should be upset, even if you don't agree with my job personally, even if you don't agree with me politically. AmeriCorps serves Americans. And AmeriCorps is just one of hundreds of other federally funded programs that are being affected by DOGE. So regardless of your politics, I don't think it should matter. I don't think that should matter at all. I think you should care that I'm an American, that I lost my job, that other people just like me lost far, far more than I lost. And we lost that job because of government bloat, apparently, from a man who doesn't know anything about what it means to budget and save money. You know, a lot of us get upset and we just stay on the internet, which doesn't do anything at all. And I'm a firm believer that if you're upset, then you should let it be known. You should talk to people about it. You can write the White House. It's really easy, actually, to write the president. You just go on the website and you type your letter and you send it in. Let him know that you're upset. Go to protests. Go to your local officials, your governor, your senator, your House representative. Let them know that you're upset. Sign petitions. I guess I just want to leave you with, you are not powerless. And if you're upset, you have the power to do something. We are all relying on other people to care. Us with federal jobs can't be the only people who care. Americans are being affected, and poor Americans especially are being affected and are losing resources that are really important, just like mine. So thank you for joining me on this video. I apologize if I didn't really speak very eloquently or coherently, or if I kind of rambled. I'm trying my best to put everything together in this video that makes the most sense for everybody. Thank you for watching my channel. If you want to join me later on, I'll probably be in a way better mood and I'll probably just be talking about some silly little movie that I watched. But in the meantime, please keep this in the back of your mind. And frankly, I think As adults, we are all responsible for making a change, and I will try to put links below to resources to help you find your local representatives and find other resources on how you can help.